Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today's guest comes to us from Alberta, Canada. Her name is Jennifer Dobbelaere. And after being married to a narcissist for over 10 years, Jen really knows what it's like to feel alone, overwhelmed, and living in survival mode with her two children. She is an intuitive life coach and EFT practitioner. She teaches through releasing our old beliefs. We create space for new perceptions, raising our vibrations, and manifesting what we truly want in this lifetime. Welcome, Jennifer. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And I'm so grateful to be able to join the project for soul parenting and get my story out there. And I am based on Vancouver Island, just to be not in Alberta. But anyways, for me, I ended up getting divorced about 5 years ago, and it was by far the most challenging time of my life. I didn't think I was going to make it through kind of my rock bottom. And, everything happened at once where my father passed away and my husband decided that we were going to go our separate ways at the time. And I just felt my life crumbling. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? I had two young children. And at that point, I wasn't really sure how I was going to get myself back up. But when you have two children and they're young, you look at them and you think, well, I can't just throw in the towel now. I've got these two beautiful, amazing humans that I've created. So somehow or other, you pick yourself back up and you find your strength, your inner strength somewhere in there to keep going and to keep moving on. My biggest challenge to going through getting back up wasn't necessarily to pull myself back up for my kids, but it was that my ex kept coming back in and out of our lives. And when he come back in, I felt like I'd just get beaten down again. And so every time I would get up, I'd feel like I got that kick again. And then it would throw me down again. And then I'd kind of go up and down and up and down. And I went in a cycle like that for quite a while, up and down for at least 2 years. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So I started looking for other help. I looked for, therapists. I started looking at other healing modalities. I looked at, I used psychics, I used mediums, I did tarot card readings, I did it all. So, but and I wouldn't necessarily say one particular thing helped over the other in that incident, but what helped me was just starting to really tune into my my intuition, because I realized throughout my marriage I wasn't listening to that, and I wasn't listening to my intuition, and I was living in a big fog the whole time I was married for 10 years. And I was coming out of this fog and it felt kind of cool in some ways. I was like, oh, the fog is lifting and this is neat. And I'm finding out, oh, well, yeah, I did like to do that. And now I like to do that too. And oh, wait a minute, I can draw. I didn't know that, And I'm not an artist at all, but just even doodling or anything, like I wasn't doing anything for myself, nothing. So this was a really time for me to step into my power and reclaim my life and find out who I am and who I want to be and what kind of a role model do I want to be for my children as I continue to raise them. And yeah, for me it was a big challenge because I was on my own with the kids for since they were babies. I never really got any help. I never got any support other than a little bit of support from my own parents, but otherwise no support really from their dad, especially when they were young. That he wanted nothing to do with them. So yeah, it was big. It was a lot for me to process, and I had no time to put into my own interests or my own life because they're 24/7. I didn't have a babysitter. I didn't have the financial support to say, hey, I'm going to go hire somebody for a weekend so I can go have a girls' weekend. I didn't have that luxury. So So wherever I went, they pretty much went. So yeah, it got a little much at times, but I kept plugging through and I kept believing in myself and I could do this. And each day I just tried to live in a state of more gratitude and really appreciating the fact that I do have these two amazing human beings in my life. And they brought me so much joy and such times where I felt, I was grieving and I was sad, and they were still young enough that they still had that, joy for life and happiness that hadn't affected them yet, because they were still young enough to really still live in the moment as children. So
Yeah. Wow, you had an amazing life, and you look amazing.
thank you.
Knowing what you know now, what kind of advice would you give to that person who just became a single parent, when you just became a single parent?
Yeah, yeah. It's when I became a single parent, I felt alone because I lived, and I think it was partly my choice. I mean, I definitely had people that I could have reached out to that I chose not to. And I think a lot of it was I felt ashamed because of the programming that we have as children. You know, my parents were married for 40 years. I should have been married for 40 years, right? Like, who can't make a 40-year marriage work, right? so, so I felt like I should have put more effort into this marriage. Why didn't I make it work? What's wrong with me? So, and then the community that I was living in at the time, it felt like, to me, my perception, of course, everyone was in their little perfect family bubbles, and they all had their fam jams going on, and all of a sudden I'm like, they looked at me and then stopped inviting me to things, and you kind of felt like this recluse and an outsider. And I chose to kind of accept that fate for a long time. And then I kind of isolated myself a bit, other than taking the kids out to their activities. But my advice for people would be, a newly single parent, was, don't fall into that trap. Don't let people decide who you are going to be. It's up to you. You are the mentor for your children. So don't let people decide that you can't go to this activity because you don't have a spouse, or it's it's like, I mean, you don't have to go to it, or make your own fun, make your new community, try to connect with other people that are vibrating on the same level as you. So you can be around the people that you want to be around, that bring you joy, that are not, kind of condemning you for your choices.
I can relate to the fact that, when I became a single parent, I was also looked like I was this weird one, because everybody around me was together, and at least on the outside they looked happy, complete family, and there I was, this figuring out what is this new normal is going to look like. And
yeah,
so it was difficult, and I can relate to what you were saying. And sometimes
yeah.
growing up, we rely more on others, figures of authority in our life, and we try to listen to that and make that the voice of reason, instead of listening to our own inner wisdom that is always there in the background. But sometimes it's difficult to hear, because the first thing we do hear is our ego screaming when something is against us, as opposed to that little inner voice that is always in the background, always ready to be heard.
Isn't that so true?
And the question is, are we listening?
Yes, it's so true. It's easy, and it's easy to get brought back into our programming of what we kind of believe. And for me, as a kid, I loved Disney movies. I thought, oh, my prince is coming, and like, I really truly probably believed that when I was a kid. When I grow up, I'm going to marry some prince. And how do you marry these princes, and where do you find them? you know so yeah, it's a reality that is not going to set us up for success, anybody up for success. I think we need to let a lot of our programming go. We don't like, as I'm stepping into my empowerment every day, I realize how programmed I truly am. And I'm really making it my mission to unprogram myself, to reprogram myself with, who I really want to be authentically. And the way I do that, I do have some different modalities that I've been playing around with throughout the years to work on to help me step into that empowerment.
Yeah. What is your favorite one?
Well, I do have a few, but the one that has helped me the most is the EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique. And I don't know if you're familiar with it or if you want me to talk about it a little bit.
You can share. Go ahead.
Yeah, it helps me, and honestly, sometimes I forget to do it. I'll have a wave of anxiety and I think, oh my God, what am I going to do? I need to calm down. And what EFT does is it allows us to tap into our nervous system using the meridian points. So it's more like acupressure points. So we do tapping on different points, like on the crown of our head and the side of our eyes. And it doesn't really seem like you're doing a whole lot, but what you're doing is you're relaxing your nervous system. It gives you something to do with your hands, and you are releasing a lot of your emotions. Because as we tap, we're talking about the emotions that, first of all, that we want to release. So the main thing about EFT is you need to release the old emotions to be able to replace them with the new emotions. And we all have emotions. Our emotions can flow through our body. Like, you can tell me a sad story and I'll feel really sad. But if I don't have any trigger points, or if it didn't resonate with me, I'll probably just go right through my body, and within a few minutes, and I'll think, oh, I had a little wave of sadness because that was a sad story you told me, and then I'll release it. But if something resonated with me, or if you said something to me, a personal attack, I might decide to hold it in my shoulder or something like that. And then that becomes stuck energy. And if I don't release it, it'll either come up in a trigger. I could have a conversation with somebody next week and it could come up, and the next thing you know, I've got this huge ache in my shoulder and I don't know why. Or it could be it could be something that I could hold on for years and it could end up turning into some type of disease. I don't know. So to release those old patterns and to release those emotions is so important. So when we do EFT, we tap on the points. The first round we do is releasing our old emotions. And we get a lot of emotions coming up. Like, sometimes I cry, sometimes I have twitching. Like, there's all these really interesting sensations that come up. But after you do even just one round of what we call venting, you feel absolutely amazing. Like, you feel so much lighter, and you feel like the air is lighter and you could breathe better. And it just feels so amazing. And then we can, after you felt like you've released a lot of the old emotions, then we can start to begin to replace them with positive affirmations using, like, I am, or your I ams, like, I am strong, or I can do this, or, I am a super mom. I am trying my best. I am empowered. You can start replacing those old emotions with the new emotions, and you'll really notice a huge change in your life just by tapping. Even if you don't do it every day, I mean, if you can do it every day, it's amazing. But even if you just do it every few days, it still makes a huge difference in your life.
You are so right. And I have not experienced this with EFT, but the technique I was I went through was called timeline therapy, and it's also about
Hmm.
releasing emotions and negative
Okay.
triggers. And you're so right about how enlightening you feel after it's done. It's like you
Hmm.
you get to reimagine your life in a different light. You don't have to associate with those negative things. And we are energetic beings. And you're so right, when we speak to people, when we get triggered, sometimes we can harbor or hold on to that negative thing, and then it lodges in our body, and then yeah, it will manifest in a disease if we're not taking
It
care
is
of it.
true. It's so true, yeah. And then I mean that's such a great tool for kids as well. And even with my kids, like they don't necessarily want to start tapping like this, especially around their friends because they're worried about what their friends think. So I could just tell them to tap on their hands. You could use your thumb point and just tap on the side of your fingers. And even if you just talking about, oh, I am mad because my friend did this to me or whatever. Just sitting there, they could be sitting at school, they could be doing that, and just doing that will help calm them down and bring their anxiety level down so much that they'll feel in a state of calmness and peace by the end of it.
I love that. I think it's a great tool for kids. Yeah,
It
because
is. It's
they're
an
not going to
amazing
sit
tool.
and tap. But I think this is
Yeah.
very,
Yeah, and they can also do it under the desk too, so nobody would even know they're doing it, right? If they're just
yeah.
doing it on the hand. But that's how my daughter does it. Like, or she'll sit in the car and she'll just do it on her hands, and that way she doesn't have to deal with people thinking she's crazy because she's tapping on her head or something.
What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
Um, well, there's so many, but I mean, really empowerment, so they can make their own choices, and that, a lot of parents want to have control over what their choices are for their children, which, yeah, we do, especially when they're younger. But as they grow into their own person, we really have to give them the tools so that they can trust in themselves that they're going to choose the right path for them and make the proper choices that are going to be empowering for them and to grow into the person that they want to be. So giving them tools like EFT, teaching them things like breathing, things that they don't teach in school right now, meditation, um, just how to be calm, not overreact, and really just step back and look and observe what's going on with people around them instead of being in the moment and overreacting or getting into involved in drama. So especially right now, because both my kids are in the getting into the teenage years, or my yeah, so it's a new ball game in that in that way from the younger children.
Yeah, I love that. So it's giving children the tools that they don't learn in school and empowering them
Mm,
with those things. I think that's incredible. What is your personal superpower?
mm.
If you had to pick
Well,
one, what would you say?
I'd say it's definitely my intuition. I've always been deeply connected, especially when I was a kid. And then I felt like as I got older and got into society and that it kind of dampened. But now I feel like I'm into that space again in my life where it's really heightened, and with the way our world is going and all the changes in the world, I feel that I'm really feeling really connected and energetically connected to the earth and to nature, um and to really reading other people's energy. I can go to a grocery store and I can literally do a quick scan of a person, and I can tell almost exactly what's going on with the person. And my daughter and I will be like, oh yeah, that person, oh, you can see the sadness in them, and you can really, sometimes I can really feel it. So, but yeah, So being in tune with that is it really does feel like a superpower, but everybody has it in them. They just have to be able to tap into it.
Yeah. Were you always intuitive, or you discovered it later in your life?
No, I was definitely always intuitive. I always had I felt that as a child. And then I think as I grew older, I just kind of pushed it back because I didn't want to listen to it. It really came back to me when I had my daughter because I had a difficult pregnancy with her where uh, I had doctors bombarding me with telling me, you know, basically to end the pregnancy. And it was a really hard time because I was totally thrown off. Was not expecting it. And all I had to do was just close my eyes, do some deep breathing, and really ask myself, was this the right path for me to be taking? Do I need to listen to these doctors or who do I listen to? So I went with my intuition the entire pregnancy. And all I can say is thank God I listened to my intuition because I wouldn't have my daughter right now. So, and she's perfectly healthy. There's absolutely nothing wrong with her. She's absolutely perfect since she's 15 years old. So,
It's amazing.
so yeah. So
The doctors misinterpreted something, I guess.
yeah, well, she was a twin. And so with twins, there's complications, and her twin sister passed away at birth. And so they were concerned that she was going to pass away as well. But I guess my intuition was telling me that it was still okay to continue the pregnancy. And I was mentally prepared. I mean, I don't know how much you can prepare yourself, but I was mentally prepared to know that I might lose both of them or I might come out with one. But I was willing to take the risk. And I ended up getting some support that were not medical doctors. That was, that's where the spirituality came in, and that's where really when I started stepping into a more spiritual side, because I realized that it's not about the medical doctors, it's about the spiritual, and calling in on, these two souls came to me for a reason, and they were there, and one wanted to stay and one wanted to leave, and that was okay, right? Because we still we still talk to her sister all the time too. So she's not physically with us, but she's still with us spiritually.
Thank you. What would you say? A question escaped me. The work that you do now with people, did it came about recently, or were you always on that path?
I have not. I've been kind of all over the place a little bit with as far as my work. Was when I was going through the divorce, I needed to do something to make money. So I decided to go into real estate for a while and make some money that way. But that was never really my passion. Like there's times I enjoyed the job, but what my passion was, especially after kind of hitting the rock bottom, I always felt like, well, if I could even just help one person with my story, that to me that would be huge. Like to me that would make all the difference in my world, because if I would have had a person like me just tell me one thing, I would have been like, oh, where did you come from, thank you so much. So if I could be that person even for just one person, it would, to me, that's my purpose. I want there to be more support out there for not even just single parents, just for parents in general. Like it's a hard job, and we all need to be there for each other because it's supposed to be a village raising your child, not just you. And it's not even just supposed to be you and your spouse. It's supposed to be like, hey, there's this baby here and it needs love. Like, let's all raise it. Where did those days go? So, uh, you know, if we could just create a community. And so my goal right now is to create more of an online community right now I'm offering Empower You life coaching. So I will offer you ways to help you step into your empowerment and try to release a lot of anxiety and stay more in a state of calmness and peacefulness, so you're not overreacting to everything and getting overwhelmed and irritated by, the busyness of life and everyday life when you're running around driving kids and everything. So how to stay calm, how to have those tools in your toolbox and give them to your kids is going to be a huge game changer. So right now I'm offering one-on-one sessions. I'm developing a group sessions as well, and building an online community. So it's kind of a work in process right now for me, because I'm just stepping into this newer role for myself. I've been doing coaching for a while, but to really get into more of the group coaching and the online community is a new venture that I'm really excited about.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. Is there anything exciting going on right now in your life?
Well, we've got a lot going on in our life always, but yeah, just transitioning into the new role with life coaching, and we are kind of traveling around a bit right now. We've been in Mexico for a while, and we're not in Mexico right now, but I hope to be going back soon, and I'm trying to open up my kids' minds to new languages, new cultures, and we're kind of working on a little bit of unschooling right now, which they're not completely thrilled about, but it's interesting to see how the programming is less, and we're being more open to new things, and it really changes your perspective on how you look at everything. So, and just staying in the state of gratitude and being grateful for all the beauty of our worlds, and learning more about who we are and why we're here.
I love that. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I would say, just for anybody who's newly to the single parent, or as even for the parents, any parents out there, is always make sure you're taking time for yourself, because that's the one thing that we don't remember to do. I know it's hard, because by the end of the day you think, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do for me? So when you wake up in the morning, maybe ask yourself, what are you going to do for you today? Like, just you, like, even if it's just one thing, even if you're going to go, okay, at 7 p.m. I'm going to have a bubble bath. Like, it doesn't have to be a bubble bath, but just one thing. Or even for me, it might just be like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and have a cup of tea in 5 minutes, and I'm just gonna read for 5 minutes. Or just make sure that you're taking some time for you, and you're also making your own plans that are just for you, not because it's so easy to get up into the scheduling of the kids and running around with them that you kind of lose track of what you need to do for yourself. So
Yes, I like that idea. I recommend to people to practice 10 minutes of joy. Just like we brush our teeth to maintain good oral hygiene, what if we flex our happiness muscle and do something that sets our soul on fire? 10 minutes or more, whatever schedule allows, and do something that just for you, just like you say, not because you have to do something, but just for the fun of it.
yes, so true.
If people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, where would they go?
Well, right now I have my Instagram page at Empower You Life Coach, and my website should be up and running in the next few weeks at empoweroulifecoaching.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. I'm really excited for what you're working on and how you're bringing life and bringing happiness to others and reclaiming their life.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.